Telling the story of the relentless efforts to abolish slavery in the 19th century necessitates recognizing the vital contributions of prominent black abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass, William Wilberforce, Ottobah Cugoano, and Sojourner Truth. Enslaved Africans faced the relentless struggle for freedom from the very moment of their capture. Some even chose to throw themselves overboard from the ships that carried them to an unfamiliar land. Upon reaching the Americas, they tirelessly sought numerous opportunities to escape the chains that bound them. They refused to accept a life of servitude, enduring floggings as if they were common criminals, or being branded like animals, forced to toil until exhaustion or death. Despite coming from proud civilizations of their own, they were now trapped in a system that not only deprived them of their dignity, but also subjected them to inhuman treatment. The transatlantic slave trade represented a barbaric mechanism predominantly fueled by a Christian and overwhelmingly European plantocracy to accumulate vast wealth. While Frederick Douglass remains one of the most renowned black abolitionists, he was not the only one. The Black Abolitionist Archive at the University of Detroit, Mercy, reveals that numerous black abolitionists actively engaged in anti-slavery endeavors regularly. With the passing of the Abolition of the Slave Trade Act in 1807, the church found itself facing a crucial moment to confront a contentious and distressing reality. While a significant number of Christians, both black and white, actively participated in the pioneering mass human rights movement to end the transatlantic slave trade, there were also many fellow Christians who staunchly supported and upheld the trade of enslaved Africans. This stark contrast highlighted the complex and challenging moral landscape that the church had to navigate during that time. And talking about Frederick Douglass, an influential abolitionist, eloquent speaker, prolific writer, newspaper publisher, and respected statesman, he chose February 14th as the day to commemorate his birth in 1818. Due to the vast scope of his scholarly work and activism, Douglass is also featured in other educational materials on the Sin Education Project website, including role plays centered around the Seneca Falls Convention and the US-Mexico War. On December 3rd, 1847, Frederick Douglass, in collaboration with Martin R. Delaney, founded the North Star newspaper. The paper contained a significant excerpt on the war with Mexico from Voices of a People's History of the United States, read by Benjamin Bratt along with an associated lesson plan. Another abolitionist who also used his editorial skills to fight slavery was, in 1859, William Howard Day traveled to Britain where he actively advocated for a boycott of US cotton to disrupt the economic profitability of slavery. The Black Abolitionist Archive reported on his talks during that time. On July 4, 1865, William Day delivered a speech on the grounds of the White House, addressing a diverse audience that included recently freed African Americans, congressmen, and government officials. In his powerful address, he reminded those gathered that the true fulfillment in the Declaration of Independence had not yet been achieved. He emphasized that genuine equality would only be attained when both black and white individuals were granted all the rights and privileges of American citizens. Following this, Howard went on to serve in the Freedmen's Bureau, where he continued his efforts to support and uplift newly emancipated African Americans. Now, here is a question for you before we move on to the next special person. How do you think William Howard Day's actions and speech contributed to the fight against slavery and the pursuit of true equality? Share your thoughts in the comment section and keep the conversation burning. Moving on, the next abolitionist's family secured their freedom via the Underground Railroad. Yes, you heard that right. But before then, hit that subscribe button and like the video because you don't want to be left out of this. Henry Highland Garnet was born into slavery in Maryland in 1815. He attended the African Freed School in the New York City starting in 1826. In 1834, Garnet and his classmates formed the Garrison Literary and Benevolent Association. However, due to their association with a controversial abolitionist, the school demanded that they change their name to avoid potential violence. Instead, the club kept its name and changed its meeting place, attracting over 150 African Americans under 20. Garnet's most renowned moment came in his radical 1843 speech titled an address to the slaves of the USA. In this impassioned address, he directly urged enslaved individuals to rise against their masters. His outspoken views and national reputation made him a target during the 1863 New York City draft riots. Rioters sought him out by name, but Garnet was thankfully protected and hidden by neighbors. Additionally, he played a role in the fight for desegregating streetcars. Now, here's another group who used a different approach from the others. Violence wasn't the sole means of seeking emancipation in the 18th century. Some Africans, like Ottobah Cugoano, employed intellectual methods to advocate for abolition. Cugoano, who learned to read and write to better himself and escape slavery, arrived in London in 1756. In 1789, he published his autobiography, The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Ottobah Cugoano, or Gustavus Vassa, the African, using it as a powerful tool for his abolitionist campaign while traveling across Britain. Working alongside English abolitionists, Cugoano petitioned Parliament against what he deemed as unchristian behavior regarding slavery. Recognizing King George III and his son's pro-slavery stance, Cugoano wrote a letter to Queen Charlotte appealing to her compassionate nature. Through intellectual efforts and personal appeals, he dedicated himself to the cause of immediate abolition. Cugoano's fellow abolitionists also harnessed their writing talents to further the cause of abolition. With Cugoano's assistance, Ottobah Cugoano published Thoughts and Sentiments on the Evil and Wicked Traffic of the Slavery and Commerce of the Human Species in 1778. These black abolitionists, well versed in the Bible, effectively dismantled pro-slavery arguments that falsely claimed slavery had divine sanction and Africans were naturally suited to slavery. Through their writings, they challenged and discredited these erroneous notions. Black women played a vital role in the abolition movement through their writing contributions. Phyllis Wheatley, captured from Senegal at 8 years old and sold to a wealthy family in Boston, Massachusetts, demonstrated remarkable language skills. Encouraged by her compassionate owners, she honed her writing abilities and published a collection of poems in London. Similarly, Mary Prince received assistance to chronicle her harrowing experience, using her writing to convey the anti-slavery message in a compelling manner that resonated with women. Many of these women went on to organize anti-slavery societies throughout Britain, inspired by Mary Prince's powerful narrative. On the other hand, born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1825, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper pursued a career as a teacher in Pennsylvania and Ohio for 2 years before embarking on a journey across the United States as a speaker in the abolitionist movement. During this time, she also played a role in the Underground Railroad, assisting in the liberation of enslaved individuals. Harper's literary prowess was remarkable, and she became a celebrated and prolific writer. She published several collections of poetry, including poems on miscellaneous subjects and sketches of Southern life, earning her the title of the most renowned female African-American writer in the country. One of her poems powerfully captured the heartbreak of slavery. It read, "And mothers stood with streaming eyes, and saw their dear children sold, unheeded rise their bitter cries, while tyrants bartered them for gold." Well, in a world still grappling with inequality, their legacy calls out to us, urging us to stand united and create a future where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. Their voices may be from the past, but their message is timeless. The fight for equality and freedom knows no bounds.